Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are taking a seriously fascinating journey into one of the most talked about pop culture phenomena of the 21st century. We're unpacking Dan Brown's famous work, The Da Vinci Code. We're going to do a full story overview, dive deep into some character analysis, uncover historical mysteries, and really decode those symbolic meanings that are hidden right in plain sight. Okay, let's dive into this. To truly understand this massive artifact of our culture, we're going to treat our agenda today like a multi-layered cryptex, unlocking it step by step. 1. A modern mystery phenomenon. 2. Analyzing Robert Langdon. 3. Decoding the hidden symbols. 4. From page to screen. And finally, 5. Historical mysteries and hoaxes.
All right, Layer 1. Section 1, a modern mystery phenomenon, the scale of a thriller. Dan Brown didn't just write a book here. He literally ignited a global conversation.
80 million? I mean, just pause and think about that for a second. That is a staggering number. By 2009, the Da Vinci Code had sold 80 million copies worldwide and had been translated into 44 different languages. But, the cultural footprint goes way deeper than just book sales. This single novel caused a massive spike in global tourism to Paris. It literally drove record attendance at the Louvre. It wasn't just a popular read. It was an absolute cultural juggernaut that had millions of everyday people suddenly researching the Holy Grail, the history of Christianity, and Renaissance art.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because the story relies on a brilliantly structured plot timeline. The inciting incident is explosive. You have the grisly, highly unusual murder of Louvre curator Jacques Sonnier, left posed like a famous Da Vinci sketch. This immediately forces our protagonist to flee the French police, and boom, we have our rising action. From there, the investigation takes them all across Europe, finding clues hidden in classic artwork, leading directly to a wildly high-stakes climax, the final breathtaking confrontation and the metaphorical discovery of the Holy Grail in a remote ancient chapel.
Let's unlock the second layer of our cryptex. Section 2. Analyzing Robert Langdon, the mind of a symbologist. Because let's be honest, a globe-trotting mystery is truly only as good as the minds trying to solve it. At the center of this whole shebang is Robert Langdon. He's a Harvard professor of symbology, which gives him the absolute perfect intellectual toolkit for this specific mystery. But what makes him a truly engaging guide for us, the reader, is his humanity. Sure, he's highly intellectual and incredibly enthusiastic about history, but crucially, he is guided by internal logic and persistent self-doubt. That self-doubt is what makes him matter. It keeps him from being some unrealistically flawless action hero, It makes a brilliant academic totally relatable, anchoring a pretty fantastical plot in a very grounded human experience. Yet, when he's framed for a murder he didn't commit, he shows immense courage under pressure. He doesn't just run away, he digs in.
Of course, Langdon isn't flying solo here. The supporting cast creates the external and internal conflicts of the story, with each character brilliantly representing a different facet of the novel's core debate. First, you have Sophie Neveu, a brilliant French police cryptologist representing the deeply personal search for truth. On the flip side, as our antagonist, there's Silas. He's an intimidating albino monk acting for a secret faction, and he represents the terrifying lengths of blind faith. And then we have Sir Lee Teabing, a noted British Grail historian. His deep, radical historical revisionism is what drives the core academic debate of the entire narrative.
Now we arrive at the third and arguably most fascinating layer of our explainer. Section 3. Decoding the hidden symbols, the science of signs. Now what's really interesting about this slide is how we can use actual, real-world academic theory to understand a pop culture thriller. The book is fundamentally all about semiotics, which is just a fancy word for the study of signs and sign-using behavior. Think of the symbols we see every single day, right? Like a red octagonal stop sign or a thumbs-up emoji on your phone. We instantly know what they mean. Well, according to Charles Sanders Peirce's semiotic theory, human reasoning is accomplished through these kinds of signs. Peirce divided them into 3 buckets. An icon mimics the actual shape of an object, an index represents a cause and effect relationship, and a symbol is a sign that users have simply agreed upon as a universal standard. And this brilliantly illustrates the semiotic genius of the novel. Dan Brown takes these globally recognized images and assigns them highly specific narrative meanings to drive the plot forward. The Vitruvian Man, drawn in blood at the crime scene, represents the tension between strength and weakness. The 5-pointed star or pentacle is boldly reclaimed from modern misinterpretations and presented as the ultimate expression of the divine proportion, Venus and the sacred feminine. The Holy Grail itself is completely reimagined. It's no longer a literal physical cup, but a metaphor for Mary Magdalene. Even the Mona Lisa is interpreted as an anagram and a symbol referencing the union of male and female. But it's not just art. There's mathematics, too.
The Fibonacci sequence, where each number is the sum of the two before it, is used as this cryptic mathematical clue left by the murdered curator. Written in a blacklight pen, totally out of order, it serves as a brilliant index. It's basically a trail of breadcrumbs demanding to be put back into logical order. What's so amazing about the Fibonacci sequence is that it naturally appears everywhere in the real world, from the arrangement of sunflower seeds to the spirals of a pine cone. So taking this inherently natural, beautiful mathematical rule and using it as a man-made, bloody clue at a murder scene, it makes its inclusion incredibly jarring and super effective.
The characters constantly use this kind of academic reasoning to challenge history. Take this quote from Sir Lee Teabing. The Last Supper practically shouts at the viewer that Jesus and Magdalene were a pair. I mean, wow. Whether you agree with the theory or not, within the universe of the story, the sheer audacity of a claim like that is exactly what hooks you. They use incredibly detailed observations of Da Vinci's famous mural to construct a really compelling alternative religious history.
Okay, let's unlock our fourth layer. Section 4. From page to screen, 2 ways to experience the code.
The transition from page to screen really highlights the absolute strengths of both mediums. Dan Brown's novel creates suspense to these incredibly short chapters and cliffhangers, but it still allows readers to pause. You get to slowly engage intellectually, read Langdon's internal thoughts, and basically solve the interactive puzzles right alongside him. Ron Howard's film adaptation, on the other hand, trades those slower historical pauses for rapid, stunning cinematic pacing. The movie gives us these breathtaking, faithful physical recreations of the Louvre, Rosslyn Chapel, and the cryptex, completely turning intellectual puzzles into a high-stakes, rapid-fire visual thriller. And the film pulls this off through its phenomenal cast. Tom Hanks as Langdon, Audrey Tautou as Sophie, Ian McKellen as Teabing, and Paul Bettany as Silas. These outstanding actors took characters whose primary development in the book happened quietly through internal monologue and brilliantly externalized them. They brought all those dense academic debates and high-stakes tension to life purely through the power of visual performance.
We have officially reached the final layer of our cryptex. Section 5, Historical Mysteries and Hoaxes, Fact versus Fiction. We simply cannot have a complete explainer of this story without addressing the massive controversies it brought into the cultural spotlight.
The absolute core of the controversy surrounding the novel was its proposition of an alternative religious history. Specifically, it pushed the idea that the Merovingian kings of France descended directly from the bloodline of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene. Because of this framing, the book was extensively denounced by numerous Christian denominations, who naturally viewed it as a direct attack on the core tenets of their faith. Furthermore, secular scholars and historians consistently criticized the book from an academic standpoint. They were incredibly frustrated that the novel presented highly fantastical historical narratives as fully documented fact to its millions and millions of readers.
So, the crucial point is, where does the line between fact and fiction actually sit? Dan Brown's novel relies heavily on the Priory of Sion, acting as an ancient, secret European society guarding sacred historical truths. However, real-world historical consensus tells a very different story. The Priory of Sion was actually founded in the 1950s by a political radical. Its ancient lineage is an admitted fabrication. It's a proven hoax. It is a delicious, fascinating paradox, right? A story entirely obsessed with uncovering ancient, hidden historical truths relies on a proven 1950s fabrication as the absolute foundational bedrock for its entire plot.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer, and to a very provocative question I want to leave you with today. Why are we so captivated by stories that seamlessly blur the lines between historical fact and complete fiction? The Da Vinci Code took real art, real architecture, and real academic concepts like semiotics and blended them beautifully with admitted hoaxes and highly controversial alternate histories. The result wasn't just a best-selling book, it was a phenomenon that literally made us question what we know about history, art, and the symbols we see every single day. I really hope this explainer has given you some great tools to think about the next time you look at a famous painting or read a gripping mystery. Keep questioning, keep learning, and thank you so much for joining me.